Hi guys, it's Charlotte from Freezer Meals 101. I just wanted to invite you to come and cook Easter dinner with me today. I'm just going to be sharing some tricks with you. This is really different than what I usually do because normally we would have family and friends over, and right now the COVID protocols in our area mean that we can't have anyone over. So normally my mom would make a turkey and mashed potatoes, my sister-in-law would bring pierogies and a salad, and I would be making some other things. We'd also have friends join us for a huge outdoor Easter egg hunt because we live in the country and we love to have kids over. You know, our kids are getting a little older now and they still enjoy Easter egg hunt, but not like they used to. So we love having our friends' kids over usually, but this year it's just going to look really different. So I'm inviting you to join me in the kitchen today while I make everything for our meal. We're still going to try to make it fun and just really tasty. So again, I'll just be sharing a few tips that can help you to save time in the kitchen. If you want, you can subscribe for more videos on how to save time and money and be able to spend more time with your family and less time in the kitchen. Happy Easter!
The night before, while I was cutting up cucumbers anyway, I cut some extra to make a cucumber salad. So I will put all the recipes in the description box below, but this is a great salad because you can make it up ahead, and it's best if you actually make it 24 to 48 hours ahead and everything has time to kind of marinate together, and that way the onions soften. So I've just sliced onions, put them in there. I've whipped up the sauce, which is just like sour cream, lemon juice, some fresh dill, I think some salt and pepper. Again, I'll just put the recipe in the description box below. I had to separate it into two bowls just to stir it better because I'm spatially challenged and didn't realize that the first bowl was going to be too small. So then I put it back into one bowl. Okay, so I know this looks a mess, but it'll taste good. So I steamed some fresh green beans and mixed them with these onions, crunchy topper things, and some mushroom soup and a little bit of milk and some pepper. And tomorrow I'm going to add some more of these and some of these crunchy jalapenos to the top of that and bake it, and then we will have a green bean casserole. So it is Easter morning and I'm just going to take this roast. It's a beef dip, but I'm not using it as a beef dip. I'm going to turn the dip sauce into a thicker gravy, and this will just be a regular roast. And this is going to be served in our Easter dinner today. So I'm throwing this in the crock pot now. I think I'm going to need two hands, so I'll probably have to stop the video. But you guys will see that in a little bit. So I'm just making the deviled eggs for our Easter dinner. I boiled the eggs for 20 minutes. I then shelled them. I always do this trick where I take the shells off and put it on paper towel because it's a great way to catch it, and then I can put the paper towel and the shells into the compost and it's all compostable. So the reason I cooked so many eggs is not only because we have a giant family, but also because I cook extra, and then if the shells don't come off very easily or if I wreck the eggs when I'm taking the shells off, then I can make the extra into egg salad and have lunches later that week. So it's just a little trick. To make the deviled eggs, I'm going to use my mom's recipe, which isn't really a recipe. It's just, I'm going to cut the eggs in half, take out the center, and then mix some mayo, pepper, maybe a bit of salt, some paprika, and some dry mustard powder into that. And I don't have a measurement for the amount of mayo just until it looks right. And so it depends, of course, how many eggs I end up using. And then I'm going to fill the egg, hollowed out egg white with that mixture, that yolk mixture. and then I'm going to top it with some paprika. I have 2 giant sweet potatoes cooking in the oven, and I put some foil down at the bottom because they always drip, and that way I catch those drips and can just throw out the foil afterwards. I'm going to make this into sweet potato casserole. I also have another sweet potato that I'm going to roast when I roast my beets, and I'm going to toss that into the salad. So Easter dinner is coming along nicely. My sister-in-law Marcia makes the most incredible salads, and so I asked her for some tips for my salad today because I want to make something that's a little bit special since it's Easter. So I am roasting some sweet potatoes and beets to put in the salad. I chopped those up into 1-inch cubes. For the sweet potatoes, I'm gonna add cumin and chili powder with some olive oil, and for the beets I'm just gonna add some salt. So I'm going to add those into the salad for something extra special. Those are going in the oven once they're tossed with the oil and seasonings at 400 degrees for 30 minutes, and you need to flip them once. I lined the tray with parchment paper, and they're just going to share the same tray because they are being cooked at the same temperature for the same time. So we're going to toss these in, and that'll be it. I'm going to let them cool before I add them to the salad later. So this is the way I've been making sweet potato casserole for as long as I can remember. I just take the sweet potatoes out of the oven when they're cooked. I cook them at 350, again with the foil on the bottom, and then I just place them again on some paper towel because that way I can put the skin from these and the paper towel into the compost, and it's easy peasy cleanup. So just taking the skin away from here, I've let it cool a tiny bit just so that I don't burn my hands, but anyway, I'm gonna put this into my casserole dish, which I have right here. And the trick to my sweet potato casserole is that I combine sweet and spicy. So I add some Cajun seasoning, some red chili flakes or red pepper flakes. So that's where you get your spice from. And I also add some pumpkin pie seasoning, which is where you get your sweet from, and a tiny bit of brown sugar along with some butter. I mash that up using my mix and masher, which if you've watched my videos before, you know I use that for everything. And then once it's all mashed and all the seasonings and brown sugar and butter are combined in there, then I bake it again, and it makes for a really delicious sweet potato casserole. I know lots of people top theirs with like a marshmallow thing or some kind of breaded thing on the top, but when you do it this way, I've found that everyone loves it and you don't really need a lot of extras, and it's super simple. So I'll show you the finished or semi-finished product in a second. Okay, so I'm just going to toss this into the compost, move this over so that I can show you what I'm doing. We have talked before about my complete lack of spatial awareness, and this is another great example because this does not fit very well in here, and I can see already that I'm going to have trouble and make a mess when I'm mashing it because this is just giant and doesn't fit. So I may have to go for a larger container, but we'll see. Maybe what I'll do is kind of rough chop these a bit to mash them down a little bit more. I don't know if this container is going to work, but we shall see. This is what happens when you have a large family and you keep forgetting just how large your family is and making things as though you still have, like, you know, 4 kids or whatever. So my spatial awareness problem is well documented. I've thrown a maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons of brown sugar in there. I wasn't measuring, sorry. And just want to talk for a second about the sweet potato / yam debate. I think technically these are yams, and that means that what's roasting in the oven would also be yams. But when I was growing up, my mom always called these sweet potatoes. I grew up with this being sweet potato casserole, and I know a lot of people mix up yams and sweet potatoes. So I do know that technically I think these are yams, but again, I'm falsely teaching my own children too, I guess, and passing along what my mom taught me, that these are sweet potatoes. So yeah, if you're looking for the actual vegetable to go in here at your grocery store, it might be called yams, it might be called sweet potatoes. Use the one that is orange versus the one that is white, and you will end up with the same dish. So as you can see, this is going to be really full, but it's still going to fit. So I've added the butter in there. It's mashing really easily and really well, and I'm just going to finish that. But I like to add the seasonings before I finish so that it just saves a step. That's why I add the brown sugar earlier too. So this is the Cajun. Again, I don't have measurements. I just eyeball it, depending on how big the sweet potatoes are too. And the crushed red pepper. You don't have to add this much. We like spicy, but also the brown sugar and the pumpkin pie spice really cut that spice, so it won't taste that spicy. So this is pumpkin pie spice, and I'm going to add a generous amount of that. Oh, you know what? It would probably help if I took off this lid. So, okay, let's try that again. Pretend like I did not make that mistake on camera. Our pumpkin pie spice now coming out nicely. So just add a generous amount of that. Ooh, our roasted sweet potatoes and roasted beets are ready to be flipped over. See how this is all coming along very nicely? Okay, I'm gonna throw a lid on here and put it in the fridge until it's closer to the time we're gonna eat. And then I'll put it in the oven at 350 degrees for about half hour, 45 minutes, and it'll be ready to eat. Just checking on how the roast is doing in the crock pot, and it looks like it's coming along really nicely. So we will just move on to the next thing here. So I'm cheating a bit here with the Yorkshire puddings. I'm using a mix. Well, actually I'm using 4 mixes because I need to make 2 dozen of these so that it can feed our whole family. So I'm just gonna quickly whip up some eggs and water and then add the mix. Now that they're cooled, I'll add half the beets and half the sweet potatoes into the salad, and the rest I'll put into a container for a side dish this week. For the salad, I used a container of the spring mix, and I got these salad toppers that are slivered almonds and cranberries and pumpkin seeds and just a bunch of goodness that I'm going to add in. I've been adding some vegetables into a bag to add into this salad as I was making things over the last day or so. So that's some tomatoes, cucumbers, radishes, and purple onions that I was slicing up for other things, double duty. And then I'm going to toss those roasted sweet potatoes and beets in there. With my kitchen scissors, I'm just snipping in some fresh mint, which is a really nice flavor to add to a salad. Another tip I got from my sister-in-law, Marcia, of course. And then I'm going to throw in some goat cheese, and I'm just going to break that up into some smaller pieces. I'm also going to add some green olives, and then I'm going to serve a honey mustard dressing on the side. Green bean casserole is ready for the oven, and I'm going to wrap those asparagus in prosciutto. So this is the prosciutto wrapped asparagus once it comes out of the oven, always delicious. And this is just the full thing. Christy dropped off some scalloped potatoes and ham, so that really completed the meal. And she even made an extra ham for Mark, who's doing keto right now. And then we've got, oh, Mark's over there cutting the roast to get it ready, the Yorkshire puddings, which are ready, the cucumber salad, olives, and this is the full spread and the gravy for the Yorkshire pudding. And then it was time to eat. After supper, we got to enjoy a delicious Black Forest trifle my mom had dropped off and strawberry shortcake courtesy of Christy. It was all in all an awesome meal.
Thanks for joining me today. I hope you had a really happy Easter with your family, and again, happy cooking.